I declare formally that this meeting is open, and I'll open by asking for apologies. We're all here, aren't we? Full house. I've got no urgent items of business. Any declarations of interest, you know how to do it. Minutes of previous meeting, you'll find these on page 4 through to 10.
I thought we got declarations of interest. Chair, declarations of interest.
I just said, I said it.
Yeah, I put me under. Item 11, Chair, can I declare an interest, please?
Okay,
Chair, I'll be declaring interest in that as well.
right. I suppose I better declare an interest as well, even though best be on the safe side, Jim, isn't it? Right. Right, move on to minutes. Anything on page 4?
I'll move them as a true and correct record, Councillor McGregor.
Second the minutes, Chair.
Moved and seconded. Mary?
It is about the minutes. I know there's no matters arising, but I wondered if the questions I asked on rough sleeper strategy, see if whether they would remove the opportunity for rough sleepers out of that report. I wondered whether the different wording was appropriate. So I wondered if we had changed it. I know it was a northeast, but I think we had an input to it, and I wondered whether the wording was changed, Leader.
Not as far as I'm aware. Any, Karen?
Thank you, Councillor Dooley. I'll get you an update if that's okay as soon as we finish the meeting this morning. Thank you.
Anybody else? No? We'll move on. Oh, they're all in favour. We'll vote on it. Come on, all in favour, minutes. Yeah, right. We'll move on to non-key decisions, budget monitoring, page 11 through to 37. Teresa, or do you want to talk to it first, Clive?
I'll talk to it first, yeah.
Go on then.
Okay. Yeah, no problems. Yeah, morning everybody. Nice to have it comfortable in here, isn't it, for a change instead of too hot. So
It is hot in here.
anyway, here we are. Budget monitoring report for Q2, April to September 2021. And this is really just to update executive and that, and where we are with the council's budgets end of day. We'll first of all kick off at 2.1 on general fund account, and you can see that there's a summary of the general fund account highlighted in appendix 1 in it all. Original budget for 21-22 showed a funding deficit of 0.291 million, and the current shows that this has been reduced to 0.067 million, and this is due to a few small movements and obviously council tax increases within it all. Appendix 2 details the cost of each cost centre within each of the 3 directorates. And we do still work with 3 directorates at present. This is just to keep it uniform because we know there is only 2 directorates now, but it just keeps it, going along the same profiling that we've done previously with it. So we've got the 3 directorates there, a couple showing favourable variances and obviously one showing an adverse variance within it all. The overall position in Q2, there's a favourable variance of 0.275 million within it all. Although we did reduce the budget for planning income on medium-term financial plan in light of the pandemic. We didn't think there'd be much voting going off, but there's been a lot more going off. And we've actually received 0.059 million in funding, which is really good from them. It's more than half the anticipated budget that we were expecting for years. So we're moving forward. And I say last year, I think that for look at Teresa, I think that were basically the same then. In the years of the medium-term financial plan, you have to remember that we're transferring money from the NNDR Growth Protection Reserve to brace the losses caused by central government. And these transfers are outlined under 2.7 on your report on page 13. We can't keep using this money forever, obviously, because it dries up. So it's not sustainable over, over the lifetime, really, much of this medium-term financial plan. But anything that we do save on it will be put back into that reserve, and again used to try and offset any budget deficits or whatever within later years. You'll notice on table 1, which is at top of page 14, current budget shortfall is showing us, a bit of a difference there. We're in the deficit all through the years. But when we go down to the efficiencies not yet realised, we've actually took into account now some of the work that the grants directorate's doing, with some money coming in, and that should really then hopefully offset and reverse those negative trends on that current budget shortfall, giving us a surplus, as it says there, in 2021, 2022, 23, 24, and then we do run back into a deficit again on 24, 25, and obviously 25, 26. So, working closely with Grant and others who are making some monies in there to monitor the position, because we do need to be able to take, remedial action should that money not come through. But I'm sure that, it will do, because it's not an overestimate to what is expecting, it's rather an underestimate, so that should be okay. What we've tried to do is work with officers, really, and budget managers throughout September and October, and that, to try and see where we can save some money in it all, with having minimal impact on service. It is a case of looking at what we can do in each of the directives and seeing where we are at all. So that's still going on. At 2.10, we're all aware that the budget and the spending review was done on last Wednesday, I think it was 27th of October. So spending review went through. I'd just like, if I can, Chair, to just ask Teresa if she'd want to add anything there as regards that, because obviously this report was written before that announcement.
Teresa.
Yep, okay. Individual authority funding allocations won't be available until December when we get the provisional settlement. So although we can't tell you the figures, that what they are for us, but the increase in funding for local government as a whole was much better than we expected. The funding increase is likely to be better than we've had in recent years, but it will still be below the average for local government, with upper tiers likely to get the most benefit. However, we benefit greatly from the business rates retention. So the apparent delay, possibly to 25-26, is good news for us, and that will provide us with additional gains. Once we get the figures in December, we'll update the MTFP and bring that in February.
Yeah, thanks for that, Teresa. It's good to get a bit of an update, and better remember that we're in a business rate pool in Derbyshire. It just does benefit us at the end of the day. So, and the longer they do the business rate review, the better it is for us, because if you like, the baseline is kept pretty low, we do get a fair bit of money coming on it. So it's good news. So hopefully, I'll be coming back with a lot more good news stories in near future, rather than 2.5 years that you've had to suffer of not quite. So it's good news, shall I say, in it all. Anyway, that covers that part of it. We move on to housing revenue account now. That's the 213, really, on top of page 15. You can see that it's set out in Appendix 3, and it is showing a net surplus of £0.083 million at this present time. Income is a bit down. It's an adverse variance of 0.163 million. And really, this 0.156 of this loss is down to the voids and the rent's not coming in. So I mean, we put in an estimate of 3% for voids, and it's actually running at about 4.13%. So that gives us a bit of a gap in it all. So we just have to watch how we go, because it will have an impact on the HRA 30-year business plan. And as it says under 2.15, there's a real risk of this 30-year business plan becoming unsustainable within the next few years if we don't get this right. So it is something we've got to watch. We have got a bit of time. I'm sure we can, make strides to do it. And again, Sandra's working hard on it. Again, Ian's up there with us all, not if there's anybody else around it. But, we're all aware of it and now working through it together with Karen within it all as well. She sees us quite often on this one. So really, that's where we are there. The expenditure there shows an overall favourable variance of 0.243 million, and it's listed under 2.17, 2 and 3, where these underspends, whatever, are being made or not being spent, whichever way you look at it. When we look at, you know, Roy, as it says under 2.2, we've got to be looking at how we do this. You know, we've got 2 or 3 schemes going, which has meant this time we've got a lot of voids in place to be able to decamp people as and when these schemes take up. So we just have to keep us on it and again, watch what we're doing and probably in future learn to do one job at a time. But it's good that we're doing what we're doing because it is increasing and making the housing better, you know, for our residents and bringing it up to standing it all. Capital programme then, that again listed at 2.21 and that's outlined for you in appendix 4 in it all. The profile budget for Q2 is £13.330 million in it, and actual spending commitment is only 7.831. So we're about £5.5 million behind spend on it all. And again, listed under 1 to 7 there, you can see where the main you know, variants are within all that. We do have to keep us on this. It's, you know, we do have to try and get it up and get it done. But, you know, there are other things as well, you know, such as getting people to do building and getting material. All these sort of things are playing into it all. But there's no significant final issues in reporting this capital expenditure at all. But we do have to try and keep to that profile figure to spend what we can on capital so that we do spend it there. 2.24 again shows us capital resources, you know, commitments are there for the second quarter. We know where we are on that. General fund, it's not part of general fund. Part of the capital is in line with the spending arrangements that we were expecting within it all. Moving on to treasury management now, this is where we put our monies where we want to try and, you know, make interest on it or invest it and do what we like. So it says there it's the borrowing investment of council monies at the end of the day. We did approve a treasury management strategy at council here in 2021, in February 2021, and appendix 5 in your report outlines the management taking up to date and the strategy up to date within it all. We've got, it's been good really, I suppose, and it's looking though interest rates might go, which might not please everybody who's borrowing money, but for us who've got some to put in, we can actually probably will recover a bit more money on interest in it all. So as it says there, we've got a number of investments for longer than 3 months, which has retained as a higher dividend than we would normally expect, you know, when it's only short term within it. So that's where we are on that. Number 3.1 shows us reasons for recommendation. It summarizes who we are, and I've gone through them all on general fund, on housing revenue account, capital programme, and indeed treasury management. As it says in there again, 2021, it's actually a factual report within it all, and there are no really alternatives to this. We've got to get as money and as budgets balanced and in line. Recommendations are number 1 and 2, bottom page 17 and over on top of page 18. Take questions, Chair, if you want me, or I can move those recommendations now, whichever you want me to go. Thank you.
Clive's moved the recommendations. Is that seconded?
Councillor McGregor, second.
Any questions? Mary?
Yeah. Every time we talk about disabled facilities grants, how can we as an authority try and boost and get, you know, spend a little more on get the people? I'll tell you 2 people that's been waiting in my village for a wet room and a stair lift from February. And, you know, since February, their lives they can't have a shower. They haven't got a shower. They've got a bath. And I just would like this disabled facilities grant to be overspent more than underspent, because it's underspent every time we come. What can we do, Clive?
Well,
Probably
I don't think it's a question for Clive.
No,
Mary.
it's
Any other questions? Right. All in favour? That's carried. Right, we'll move on. I'm sure Sandra has listened to all these things and she's got them all in hand anyway. So next one is you, Sandra. Contract for stair lift installations and servicing and repairs, page 38 to 41.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to seek approval to award contracts for stair lift installations and servicing and repairs for Bolsover District Council's housing stock to Oban Domestic Lift Services Limited. You can read the report details on bottom of page 38. So I would like to move the recommendations on page 39, 1 to 3. Thank you, Chair. Is there any questions?
It's been moved. Is that seconded?
Councillor
Seconded.
McGregor, second.
Any questions to Sandra? You want to test this one, Mary?
Yeah, it's pleasing to know that we are moving forward on the stair lifts, Sandra.
Yeah, and I think a lot of time, it's the delay is due to the occupational therapist visiting. And that's Derbyshire County Council, and it's visiting, and I know, as well, with COVID and everything else, there's been a lack of that, and people not wanting them to go into the properties. But we do need to spend it all and not underspend, so we'll look into that as well. Thank you, Chair.
That's always going to be a difficulty. You
It
budget
is.
for these things and, invariably there's going to be an underspend. Perhaps Karen, do you want to talk about these disabled facility grant?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's an ongoing issue, as I'm sure you're all aware, and I can tell the frustration is there as well. As Councillor Peaks just mentioned, it's a two-stage process, so it's very lengthy and really could do with some streamlining and some modernising. So we identify an issue, we then go through to the County Council with their occupational therapist team to put forward a proposal, which we then approve. We've always been very, very fortunate to have quite a generous amount of disabled facilities grant given to us in the first place. And we've also received government underspends in the past as well, which we've put into those kind of budget pots. So yeah, it's definitely something we can look at. And I wonder whether there's anything we can do to assist with the occupational therapist part of the process, as well as our own part, which is the installation of the equipment, etc., the stair lifts or whatever needs doing. But I'll get an update for you and I'll see where we can go with it.
Mary?
Karen, I'd like to speak to you after this meeting, please.
Ian, you want to add something?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, only to say that Sam Bentley had contacted me and asked for whether we could assist in any way in spending the disabled facilities grant, which is different to the internal budget we spend through the HRA. So Katie and I are meeting with her this week to see if there's a way we can help her because of the backlog that's transferred from the OTs to her team. So if there's some of the simpler things that we can just move through our process, we're going to look through that, see if we can get some of that spent a bit quicker. So, thanks, Chair.
Yeah, county does perhaps need assistance from time to time. Sandra?
Yeah, and I think it's contractors as well, waiting for the contractors to do the work also.
Well, that's absolutely true. We can sit here and put our hands up and agree all sorts of things, but we don't do it, do we? We have to get other people to do it, and sometimes it's a lot more difficult than what you can imagine. Clive?
Just going back on time, I remember years ago when Steve Bidwell were head of environmental health, it was the same tale. Then we couldn't seem to spend it anywhere, and there were a lot of work done at that time, Karen, to try and, as you just said, streamline it all. But it is sad when people are out there and do need these help and aids. That it is taking so long from a county angle for them to get occupational therapists out there to assess them really and do what they do. So anything that we can do, let's go do it and get it done.
One of the biggest problems is they work to different briefs, don't they? They've got different policies. One sec, Sandra. Deborah?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I was just going to say, that report only shows the actual underspend, doesn't it? If you actually look at the detailed budgets for it, there's quite a high commitment to those that's already been done. And one of the big problems is it's been COVID. We all know the contractors are in short supply, aren't they? So yes, you've still got the problem with the OTs. It is the contracts. It's a bit of a perfect storm, isn't it? But that commitment to spend is there. They are working through these cases. It's just how you speed it up and get the end result, isn't it? So that only shows, like I say, the underspend, doesn't it?
Sandra? We're still on your stair lifts, by the way.
I was just going to ask Karen, is it possible we can have a couple of contractors instead of just one? Is it possible to do that so we can get a backlog of the work done? I don't know. I'm asking you that.
We can definitely look at it. Yeah, I'll ask for a briefing note on the whole DFG issue, and we'll speak to Ian's team as well and see what internal contractors we can use within Ian's team to speed up some of those smaller jobs as well. So yeah, we'll look at it and we'll get you a briefing update.
Duncan?
Yeah, it's true that COVID, as expressed, COVID-19 has caused a lot of upset on lots of things. which included in this one as well regarding getting contractors for carrying out the work. I think the point that Mary's actually is in terms of finance, is there more money that we can put into this to help as well? And that, but I'm glad that you're going to be looking at the overall picture, and Ian's mentioned one way I've been trying to possibly help. But my understanding is there's a set amount which are not in the budget for council house.
Teresa,
We've got quite a lot of money that we just can't spend at the minute, so
they're
it's
just
various
not,
amounts.
they're just not getting jobs done. I
No,
mean, the
that's right.
cash is there, they're just not doing job. Another problem that exists is that, you know, we work to a particular script and the OTs tell the applicants different things, you know, perhaps, you know, same thing, but it's more of an expanded one. So a lot of people that apply for things can, you know, they've got different expectations that we can't fulfill because of policy and regime that we operate. Just don't say any more, Duncan.
No, fine. So long as we find a way of dealing with it, you know, I'm perfectly happy. It's just that we are a caring council and we want to help people that's got disabilities and requires these aids. Yeah, so if it's not finance that's causing the problem, then I'm perfectly happy. I think eventually it will be that, but we'll find out.
Sandra,
Yeah, this is why I've asked Karen if we can probably look at getting another contractor in, because I get enough earache about voids. Well, a lot of voids need wet rooms and you know, alterations like that. So, and if you've only got one contractor, they can't be doing both. So we probably just, we need to look at it as a whole. Thank you, Chair.
that's it. Right. So coming back to these lifts, they're moving recommendations.
Sorry, Chair. I move the recommendation on page 39, 1 to 3.
I'll second the recommendation.
Any questions on these lifts? No? All in favour? As carried. Right. Get an uplift there. We move on to exclusion of public. Is somebody prepared to move the under
Councillor
section
Gregor
100?
will move exclusion of the public.
Is that seconded?
Second that, Chair.
Are we all in favour? That's carried. We switched off?